All right, guys, this is officially March. You know what that means. It's NCAA tournament time. It's March Madness time. Conference tournaments are starting up this week in the mid majors. So today we're going to be taking a look at my top 5 potential bid stealers come tournament time. So if you don't know, a bid stealer is pretty much a team that has no chance at making the tournament, but they win their conference tournament, which gives them an automatic qualifier to the NCAA tournament, which basically eliminates a team that would have been in the NCAA tournament otherwise. So to make this list better, basically what I did, anybody that's on the bubble, kind of on that cut line, next 4 out even, next 8 out even, if they're even any conversation in the bubble besides like one of these teams, I left them out of this conversation to make it a little more interesting. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started here. First off, we've got BCU in the A10, currently sitting at 19-10, number 4 seed in the A10. A10 looking like a potential 3-bid league this year. Loyola Chicago potentially, Dayton, another team, and Richmond. Richmond and Loyola, not as good of a chance as Dayton. Dayton's for sure in. Loyola Chicago and Richmond kind of need a little help probably, but should be in. But BCU being the 4 seed to all those other 3 teams I named, they're actually have beat all those teams. So they've beaten Loyola Chicago, they've beaten Dayton, they've beaten Richmond. So they've beaten every team that is supposedly better than them in the conference, which means if they come up with those teams in the tournament, if they play them, they've got a good chance to beat them. They also have a pretty good resume loss-wise. They've got a loss to Boise State, a close loss. That's a tournament team. Close loss to Iowa State. That's a tournament team that's a top 2, top 3 seed. And then a close loss to Memphis, which is kind of on that bubble watch. VCU actually, looking at this, they actually should be in the bubble conversation. I don't know why they're not. They've got some bad losses probably somewhere in there, but looking at these that we have on your screen that I've made, actually – they should probably be in the bubble conversation, even if they don't win. But I think they do have a legitimate chance to win the A10. All right, next up here, we have UAB. All right, so UAB sitting in the American Athletic Conference, 18-10, the 4 seed. American Athletic Conference looking like a for sure 2-bid league, maybe a 3-bid league. Florida Atlantic and South Florida are in, and then Memphis is kind of trying to fight for that last spot. But UAB sitting at 4th actually has wins over those 3 teams I just named. They've got a win over Florida Atlantic. They've got a win over South Florida. They've got a win over Memphis, and they've got a win over Drake, which is also in that bubble conversation for the mid-majors. They also have a close loss to Clemson, which is a top 5 seed probably in the NCAA tournament. UAB actually a really good resume here, and I think they could go on a run here in the American Athletic Conference. They've already beaten those teams, like I said, so why not? Why can't they beat them again in the tournament? All right, next up here we have Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, one of the weaker teams on this list as far as conference resume, schedule, record, all that stuff is concerned. But the reason they are on this list, I know they're sitting at 13-16, and they're 14th place in the American Athletic, not American, ACC. But they have wins over top 5 teams at the time, Duke and North Carolina. Both of them top 15 now. North Carolina, a top 10 team, 2 seed. Duke, talented as heck. They have wins over both the top 2 teams in the ACC, as well as a close loss to Clemson. Georgia Tech, I think it was last year, maybe a couple years ago, went on a pretty good run in the ACC tournament. Similar situation. Played the first weekend or played the first day of the tournament and then went on a run like 3 rounds deep. I could see it happening again here. Now, they do have some bad losses. Obviously, to get 16 losses, you got to lose to some bad teams. But the wins they have here shows they have the potential and talent to play with anybody, because Duke and North Carolina are on a completely different level than anybody else in the ACC. If they can beat those 2 teams, they can beat anybody. Next up, Butler. All right, so one of the teams that is probably closest to the bubble out of, I think, the team next that's coming up next. But Butler in the Big East, 17-13, sitting at 9th place currently. The Big East, pretty competitive. You know, you got UConn at the top. You got Marquette. You got Creighton, Seton Hall, Providence, a bunch of other teams. St. John's right in that little area that are kind of probably going to be tournament teams. But Marquette, Creighton, and UConn all probably top 4 seeds. But they do have wins over Marquette. All right, that's a 2-seed win. You got a win over Creighton. Creighton's going to be a top 4 seed. You've got a win over a tournament team in Texas Tech and a tournament team in Boise State. You've got a close loss to Florida Atlantic, which is also a tournament team. Butler can play with anybody. I don't know if they can beat UConn. Obviously, they have not, but they beat Marquette and Creighton. So if all falls right for them in the tournament, like I said, I don't know if they can beat UConn, but I think they can beat anybody else. So if all falls right, if they can somehow avoid UConn, now 9 seed is at the moment. Obviously, their season has not ended. If they can somehow avoid UConn, drop a seed, gain a seed, whatever, if they can avoid them and play Marquette or Creighton, I think they have a legitimate shot at winning the tournament. Not saying they will, but these are all potential bid stealers. I think Butler should be among them. Next up, Ohio State are probably the bubbliest of the bubble teams we're talking about here. Have fired their coach, and they've kind of done pretty good since then. They've won 3-1 since they fired their coach, with wins over Purdue, Michigan State, Nebraska since that happened. Ohio State currently 12th in the Big Ten, sitting at 17-12. So they have wins over a number 1 seed Purdue, like I just said, recent wins over Michigan State and Nebraska. They've got a win over Alabama, which is a top 4 seed, and close losses to Texas A&M, which is on that bubble line, and then Wisconsin, which is a for sure tournament team. So think back to last year, Ohio State, similar situation. They go on a run in the Big Ten tournament, make the championship, lose to Purdue. Or did they make the semis? They made the semis of the championship last year and lost to Purdue, but went on a really good run. So you could see a similar situation happening this year, I think, where they go on a run. They still got a lot of the guys from last year, so they're super talented. They've beaten Purdue already. Go on a run, win that tournament championship, and you're in. And that's probably getting their current head coach the job. I don't know if that'll happen or not. We've seen that before, think of Rodney Terry at Texas. That's not really working as good as some had hoped, but that could happen. Ohio State definitely talented enough to win it. All right, next up, Southern Illinois. All right, in the Missouri Valley Conference, sitting at 19-11, currently 4th place. Missouri Valley looking like a 2-bid conference this year, potentially. You got Indiana State and Drake kind of both fighting for the bubble spot if they don't win the conference. But Southern Illinois wins over Indiana State, one of the teams I just said above them. A win over Oklahoma State. That's not the greatest win. Oklahoma State's not very good, but it's still a Power 5 win nonetheless. You've got close losses to James Madison. They've only got 3 losses on the year. You remember James Madison at the beginning of the year going on a pretty good run. You've got a loss to Wichita State. Not the best Wichita State team ever, but it's still a name brand. And then you've got a close loss to Drake, which is a team you would potentially have to beat come tournament time. So Indiana State and Drake are the 2 teams you're looking to beat here. They've already beaten one of them. They barely lost to the other one. I think Southern Illinois does have a chance if all falls right come Missouri Valley tournament time. Now, 4 seed was at the moment. Last time I looked, they were losing to who they were playing now, which would actually drop them to the 6th seed. So we'll see what happens once we actually get there, but they have a good fighting chance. All right, and last but not least here, we have Santa Clara out on the West Coast Conference with Gonzaga, St. Mary's, sitting at 19-12, currently 4th place. They're actually going to be 4th place. This is for sure locked in. They have wins over Gonzaga. Really good win there. Gonzaga's a tournament team now, for sure. Lock it in. Win over Washington State. Washington State, a top 25 team at the moment. Tournament lock. Win over Oregon. Oregon kind of on that bubble line. Probably not making it, but potentially making it. Then a close loss to Utah State. All right, so here, being the 4 seed, not good for you because you're going to have to play St. Mary's. They have not done that yet. All right, they've beaten Gonzaga. So we'd much rather play Gonzaga, but that's not going to happen. They're going to get St. Mary's. You got to hope that St. Mary's is reeling from that Gonzaga loss and that, they don't have anything to play for because they're already in the tournament. That's what you got to hope here. And then you beat St. Mary's, then you beat Gonzaga in the championship pretty easily. That's your case there. You win. Pretty simple. Because in the WCC, you get that multiple bye to where you just get buys you're automatically in the semis, if you're the 1 or 2 seed. So you really want to be one of the top 2 seeds there. Now, they do get a bye. Santa Clara does at first, I think, but you're going to have to beat St. Mary's and Gonzaga probably to make the tournament, but it's definitely possible. Gonzaga and Washington State are no slouches. Those are really impressive wins. But that is my list of my top 5 plus 2 bid stealers for conference tournament time, for NCAA tournament time. But let me know yours. Who do you think could be a potential bid stealer in your favorite conference? Let me know and give me your reason why. So if it's Ohio State, let me know why you think they could steal a bid and how they could win it. Let me know. Comment down below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe.